Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this webinar from My Decorative Quilter. Today's webinar is going to be a Sunshine Bib. It was created for you by Rita Gizzard and presented by myself, Mark Garretts, and I'm a National Floriani educator. As I always like to do before we get into the details, I like to show you a picture of what the final project is going to look like. As you can see, it's a baby's bib, looks like a sunrise, and it is created all in the hoop, or at least mostly in the hoop, with an applique kind of technique. And so today we're going to show you how to create the pieces and parts in the software, all the stitches, and then we're also going to show you how to construct it using your embroidery machine. We're going to go ahead and get started with our software portion of this project. And the very first thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and open up My Decorative Quilter. If you don't have a nice big blank screen like this to work on, if yours is gray, come up and click the new icon to create a new document to work on. Once you've done that, we want to come over here and make sure that we are in inches mode. So look up here on the right of our workspace, it will say inches. If it doesn't, simply right click anywhere on the ruler. You'll get a little pop-up and click inches, and that'll put you in inches mode. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to come over to our Tools menu. We're going to drop down to our General Options and click that. Come over to our Grid icon here. Make sure our grid spacing is set up to 1/4 of an inch. So it should say 0.250 here, 0.250 down here. If it doesn't, change them. If you have Maintain Aspect Ratio checked, you can simply change one. It'll automatically change the other. Another important thing is make sure that Snap to Grid is selected. And then lastly, come down to our digitizing icon and just make sure that you're in simple draw mode. Once you're there, come down and click OK. And the very last thing we want to do is make sure that you can actually see the grid. If you can't see the grid, if your screen looks like this and it's all white, what you want to do is click on this grid icon over here on the left. So go ahead and click that, and that will turn the grid on. This icon turns the grid on and off. So to get started on this project, we're going to actually load a helper file. It's an artwork file. It's in the SVG format. It should have been downloaded along with the rest of the files for this project, and I'll show you where it is as we go. So what you're going to do is you're going to come up here to click File, and then you're going to click Import Artwork. Now what we're going to bring in is artwork, and artwork is lines that we can either draw over the top of, or we can go ahead and convert those directly into stitches. We're going to be doing both of those with this. You're going to want to navigate to your February 2015 folder. I'll show you where that is. It is under C, Floriani Designs, MDQ Project. You'll have a February folder, and you'll probably have last February in there, February 2014, but you'll also see February 2015. So go ahead and click on that, and you'll see the sunshinebib.svg file, and you may see some other SVGs in there as well, or other artwork files that we may have given you, but you'll definitely find this one. So go ahead and click that, and then click Open to bring that in, and you can see that brings in this artwork file of all the various lines and things that we're going to create our bib from. So we're going to go ahead and start putting in some stitches now. We're going to do that along these lines right here. This is going to be our inner ray. We're going to add some placement lines and some tack down lines for that. To do that, we're going to actually come up to our run input icon. So we're actually going to digitize some run stitches here. And don't confuse this icon with this convert to run over here. What you want is this one here. It's your input run path, and it is looking like a reverse S. So go ahead and click that to go into that mode. Now what we're going to do is we're going to bring our cursor down. We're going to be using this line right here, but we're not going to go right at the end of the line. We're going to come over about 1/4 of an inch, and we have this nice grid right here to show us where to go. So go ahead and click there. You don't have to be real close to it because it's going to snap to it. That's one of the great things about Snap to Grid. So come on down here about 1/4 of an inch outside at the bottom, but even with the bottom, and left click one more time, come out to the other side about 1/4 of an inch, so to the right this time, and click. You can see how I'm not exactly right on there, but it doesn't matter. Come out here about 1/4 of an inch out and left click, and then right click to tell the program that we are done inputting that run path. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create the tack down for the inner rays. We want that to be in a different color. And we want a different color so the machine will stop and allow us to do some things in the hoop before we continue sewing. So we're going to come down to our color palette down here, and we're just going to select color number 2, and we're going to do that by right-clicking on color number 2. We're going to come over to our properties here. So this is actually going to be a tack down line. We want it to be a little bit smaller seam length than the 3. So we're going to change our stitch length to 2.5. So I'm going to come in here and type in 2.5, and then I'm going to click apply. And we're going to draw in our lines now. Actually, we're going to put our stitches in. So we're still in the run input mode. Well, this time we're going to draw right along the blue line. And so you want to get right up here at the corner, and you want to left click, come down to the bottom of that line. Again, it's snapping for us real nice, so you don't have to be perfect. And go ahead and left click and then right click to tell it that we're done. We're going to do this next one here, but we want this one to actually be a different color because we want to stop. So come over to our color palette, right click on color number 3, come over here to the bottom of this line, go ahead and left click, come up to the top of that line, and left click and right click one more time to put in our last of our stitches for the tack down line for the inner rays. We're now going to work on the outer rays, and we're going to change the color one more time. So come down here to the color blue, which is color number 1, and right click on that. And now this time we're going to come down here about a 1/2 inch below, so you can see it's right here. So go ahead and just click right there. Just go ahead and click right there, and then we're going to come down about a 1/4 inch out and to the left. So we're not going to come even this time. We're going to come down here, and we're going to go ahead and left click. We're going to continue straight across the base, and we are going to left click one more time, this time about a 1/4 of an inch out to the right. Come up to a similar point over here about a 1/2 inch below, and left click, and then we are going to right click to tell it that we are finished with that line. That was our placement line for our lower rays, and now we're going to put our tack down lines here and here. So we're going to change our color one more time. We're going to come over here to color number 2, right click. We are going to come up to the top of this line right here. We are going to go ahead and left click there, come down to the bottom of that line, left click, and then right click to finish that one. We are going to now just move way over here. We're not going to actually stitch. So we're going to come over here. We are going to not change the color. This can be all sewn out together. So we are going to left click at the bottom there. We're going to come up to the top, left click, and right click to finish it. So again, these color changes are here so that the machine will stop in between the stitching where we want it to. So what we're going to do next is we are going to put in an applique stitch for our sun, which is this arc right here. So we're actually going to take this artwork line and we're going to convert this into the stitches that we need to create an applique. We're actually going to create our applique manually. We could have done it with our convert to applique tool, but we're going to go ahead and do that manually because there's some options that you could do if you have it done as a individual stitches rather than as a whole applique object. So the first thing we want to do is select that line. The easiest way to do it is to come over to our sequence view, and it's color number 5 here. It's number 4 in the sequence view. Or number 3 in the sequence view, I'm sorry. We're going to go ahead and click that, and that's going to select that line. First thing we're going to do is we're going to convert that into a run stitch. So this time we're actually going to use our convert to run function. So that's this icon up here. So we're going to go ahead and click Convert to Run. That's going to give us a run stitch. We actually need two other copies of this because we need a placement line and a tack down line. So we're going to click our copy icon to make one copy, and then we're going to paste it, and we're going to paste it again. And you can see over here now we've got 3 run stitches. We're going to change the colors of some of them so that we get the machine to stop just like a regular applique would. So we're going to come over here and click our first run stitch, come down to our color palette. We're going to change it to color number 1 by right clicking on it. We're going to go to our second run stitch, which is now right here, and we are going to change that into a red, so that's color number 2. So we're going to come over here and right click on color number 2. So now we've got a second color, and we're going to do the final one, and we're going to go ahead and leave that as an orange color because that goes with our bib. But we want some other kind of stitch here to cover up the edge of the applique. Now you could make a steel stitch, and that's what we're going to do. We'll do that as our final step, but I just want to show you that you have some other options. You can come up here to your stitch type, and you can change it to a motif stitch. So if we just left that motif stitch in there and clicked apply, that would put a motif stitch in there. You might want to do that. Another option is you could change to crazy quilting. So you could select a stitch for crazy quilting. You can either use the drop down here, or you can click this icon here and you can select a crazy quilt stitch. For example, you might select this one and click OK, and then we might change our stitch length on it. Let's go and change it to say a 14, and we're going to click apply, and that would give us that crazy quilt stitch there. But in fact, what we're going to do instead is we're going to actually use a steel stitch like we would for an applique. So you would be in a run stitch, and to show you that, I'm actually going to show you the undo button. And remember, we have unlimited amounts of undo, and that's our friend here. So I'm going to undo once and twice to go back to our regular run stitch. And what you'd want to do is you'd want to come up here and click convert to steel. Now you actually could have converted to steel right from where we were. So you can play with some things and you can convert to steel at the end, but I just wanted to show you how it would look if you started and if you're following the printed instructions. Okay, so we're going to now work on the outline of the bib, and that is this black artwork outline here. We're actually going to use this artwork to convert into stitches, and to do that we are going to select it. We're going to come over to our first item in the sequence view, which is our black artwork, and we're going to click to select that, and we are going to change it into a run stitch by coming up here to our convert to run icon and clicking that. Now we need to make some copies of this, so we're going to click our copy icon, and we're going to click paste twice, once and twice, and you can see over here now we've got actually 3 run stitches. So this is going to be our placement line, tack down line, and our seam line. We're going to click on the second one because we want our machine to stop here. We're going to change the color. We're going to come over here to our color palette, and we're going to right click on color number 2, and then the last thing we're going to do is in our properties we're going to verify that the stitch length here is 2.5, and we are going to change it to a bean stitch. So I'm going to come over here and change it to a bean, and we want to make sure our bean repeats is 3, and we're going to click apply. All right, and then we are going to click on the third run, which is this one right here. So we're going to click on that one, and we're going to move it to the front so that it stitches out last. And what we're going to do is use our move to front icon over here to do that. So we're going to click move to front, and you can see that's now moved down here. We're going to come up to our properties and just double check that our stitch length is still at 2.5. And the last thing we are going to do is we are going to make a gap in this run stitch down here so that we have a place to turn the bib inside out. So to do that, we're going to use our artwork tool or our shape tool. So we're going to come over here to our shape tool. We're going to click that. And you can see now that this line changes to show us what we have as artwork. Come somewhere over into here, where exactly really doesn't matter, but kind of you'll see this either green or red dot here. That's our start and stop point. They're both in the same place. We're going to come over just about even with it right over here, exactly again where it doesn't matter. And you're going to right click here, just make sure you're on the line. And what you want to do is select split line, and what that's going to do is it's going to actually create two different stitches, one here running all the way around and then another one down here. And we're going to delete this one. It's our second run stitch that we've created down here. So come over to our sequence view, click on that, come over to our cut icon and click that, and that's actually going to create a gap in the stitching here, so we'll no longer have a stitch. So what the next thing we want to do is we want to come up to the properties for this, and because we've deleted some stitches in the middle, we haven't automatically created tie-offs for this stitch now that we've deleted part of it. So what we want to do is come up to our commands, and we want to come to our tie-in and tie-off. We want to click the down arrow, and we're going to select triangle for both of them. So we're going to do a triangle tie-in and tie-off at the beginning and end of that stitch, and click apply, and then that completes the actual digitizing process of getting our project ready to sew. So the next thing we want to do is just simply save it. So we're going to come up here to our file menu, we're going to click save, and when we do that, it's going to open up in that same folder. That's a perfectly good place to save it. So I'm going to type in Sunshine Bib, Sunshine Bib, and I'm going to change it to a C2S format here, and we're going to click save, and so that's going to put it in there. Now I've already saved it once, so it's asking me if I want to replace it. I'm going to say yes, and now we also need to save it as our machine file, otherwise we won't have anything to stitch. So I'm going to click File, Save As this time, and this time I'm going to change the file type to the machine that I would have. So you would at home change it to whatever machine format you need. For example, if I needed Baby Lock Brother PES version 9, I would go ahead and click that, and then I would save that file, and that will complete the software portion of our project. Okay, we're going to move on to the construction part of this project. Here again is a picture of the finished bib, so you can get an idea of where we're headed with this as we sew it out. Okay, let's go over the materials that you're going to require for this project. First of all, you're going to need some Floriani batting. It's really your choice which batting you use. You're going to need about an 11 by 9 inch piece. You're going to need some Floriani nylon no-shell mesh stabilizer. Any color will be fine. You're going to need some fabric. You're going to need an 11 by 9 inch piece for the back of the bib. You're going to need one 7.5 by 7.5 inch piece for the center, two 6 by 3 3/4 pieces for the inner sides, two 2 3/4 by 3 1/4 inch pieces for the outer sides, and lastly one 4 by 8 inch piece for the sun. You're going to need embroidery thread for the top, some bobbin thread. You're going to need a minimum of a 200 by 260 millimeter or 8 by 10 inch hoop size, and you're going to need a snap, hook, Velcro, or some other type of closure to close the bib when it's finished. So before we start, I just want to remind everybody that in the following directions for stitching this out, we're going to be referring to the different colors as we saved them in the design. The color names will probably appear different in your machine. And there's color changes in here, and they're designed to make the machine stop between the steps so we can do things in the hoop. But you could leave the same thread in or change it as desired. And if you have a multi-needle machine, remember that you're going to have to insert stop commands using your machine controls in order for it to stop between colors. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and embroider the design now. The very first thing you want to do is hoop up your nylon no-show mesh and attach the hoop to the machine. Make sure you get that mesh nice and tight. You're going to load the Sunshine Bib design into the machine. You're going to Start stitching, you're going to stitch out color number 1, which is black. This stitches the placement for our batting, and then you're going to remove the hoop from the machine. Next, you want to place the batting over the stitch line, make sure you get it good and covered, and then return the hoop to the machine without disturbing the position of the batting. Next, you want to start up the machine again, which will stitch out color number 2. It's red in the machine. Again, you don't have to change the thread color. This is going to tack down the batting and then once again remove the hoop from the machine. Next, you're going to carefully trim away the batting from around the stitch line, both on the inside there and the outside, using either sharp pair of scissors or an applique scissors, being really careful not to cut the stabilizer. And once you've got that done, go ahead and return the hoop to the machine. Start up your machine again to stitch out color number 3, which is going to be blue. This stitches out the placement lines for the center fabric and the 2 inner sides. Once you've got that done, go ahead and remove the hoop from the machine again. Next, you want to go ahead and place your fabric over the batting for the inner part of the bib. It's going to be right side up. Make sure you cover the placement stitches and also make sure that it goes well over the top of the bib. Next, you want to fold the fabric back so the folded edge of it is along the seam line or that stitch line there. And you want to finger press it to create a crease, and we're doing this so we can basically see where that stitching is through the fabric. You want to go ahead and unfold it when you're done and then repeat it on the other side so both sides will have a crease. Next, you want to place one of the inner side fabric pieces right side down this time against the crease, and you want to be sure to put it on the right side, which is the side shown here. You want the bulk of the fabric to be facing in towards the center of the bib, and once you've got that placed, go ahead and return the hoop to the machine. Go ahead and stitch out the next color, which is red. This is going to tack down the fabric and then once again remove the hoop from the machine. Go ahead and fold the fabric back along the stitches and then place the remaining inner side fabric right side down, this time against the left crease, again with the bulk of the fabric facing towards the inside of the bib, and return the hoop to the machine. Go ahead and stitch out the next color, which will be green. This is going to tack down the second piece of fabric there. Remove the hoop from the machine, and now you're going to press open both pieces of fabric along the seams, kind of folding them back along the seams, press them open, and then return the hoop to the machine. Stitch out your next color, which is going to be blue, and this stitches the placement lines for the outer sides, and once again remove the hoop from the machine. This time we're going to put 2 pieces of fabric down at once. These are the outer side fabrics. You're going to put them right sides down against the placement lines. That's with the raw edge on against the placement line. And once you get them positioned, return the hoop to the machine. Stitch out the next color, which will be red. This is going to tack down both pieces of fabric. Once that's done, remove the hoop from the machine. Press both pieces of the side fabric open, again along the seam line, and then once again return the hoop to the machine. Go ahead and stitch out the next color, which is blue. This is going to stitch the placement line for the sun. We didn't show you a picture of that. You'll see where it is. Go ahead and remove the hoop from the machine one more time, and then place the sun fabric right side up this time over the placement line as you see here. Go ahead and return the hoop to the machine and stitch out the next color, which is going to be red. That's going to tack down the sun and remove the hoop from the machine. After you've removed the hoop from the machine, trim that sun fabric close to the stitch line as you see here, and then return the hoop to the machine. Go ahead and stitch out the next color, which is going to be yellow. Now this time it wants to be a matching color because we're going to see this stitch, and you could go ahead and leave that thread in all the time, which is what I would do. This is going to stitch the cover stitch, which is going to cover the edge of the fabric here for our sun. This could be a motif, a crazy quilt, or a satin stitch depending on what you chose during the digitizing step. In the picture here we've used a crazy quilt stitch. It's a little hard to see. But in the actual digitizing example we used a satin stitch, and once you've got that stitched out you want to go ahead and remove the hoop from the machine. Next you want to place your back fabric right side down over the whole bib, make sure the whole thing gets covered, and stitch out the next color, which is black, and that's going to stitch out our final outer seam, and then when you're done with that, remove the hoop from the machine. Finally, we're going to remove the project from the hoop, and then you want to take your scissors and trim closely all around the stitch line, leaving about a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch flap at the bottom here as shown. And you'll know where to start and stop that flap because that's where the stitching will start and stop. Remember, we made that gap in the stitching there, and this is why. Now we're going to finish up our project by turning the bib inside out through the gap that we created there. You want to press it real nice, tuck in the 2 flaps, and stitch the opening closed either by hand or by machine. And then lastly, you want to add your closure to the top loops of the bib. Again, this can be a snap or a hook or Velcro. And that completes our project. We want to thank everybody for watching and attending. We hope you'll use this video along with the print or PDF instructions to recreate the entire project at home. We also want to remind you that there's a bonus quilted bib project included with the print instructions. It's actually a little bit easier project. It doesn't use the applique technique. In fact, it uses a quilting technique, so you might want to check that out and create that one too as a second bib. You know, you can always use more than one baby bib. And I want to thank everybody again for watching.